We were talking about Leonardo DiCaprio. You said it was creepy. Why is it creepy?
Because he's 52, and every time his girlfriends get a little bit older, he gets a new girlfriend who's even younger. And to your guys' point, you guys were saying, maybe something changed and he wanted to have kids, and but obviously that's not what he's looking for. He's just sleeping with young people, and so I just think it's a little bit creepy. At his
are age gaps in general creepy?
Depends.
So how about a 30-year-old dating a 20-year-old?
That's not creepy to me.
No. Think if they're on the same
but if it
level.
so if it is, I understand.
A 30-year-old cannot literally be the mother or father of a 20-year-old unless they had him at 10.
If someone can be like your parents, that's kind of weird.
Right,
too.
that's weird.
That's your
but there
cutoff
is
if they could- okay.
13.
And just to be
there's
clear, when it comes to
parents who
the
are 12, there's parents who 15.
Yeah. So when it comes to the age gap thing, though, do you have the same energy for women who date younger men?
Yes.
And is it just as equally creepy?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not, you don't have a double standard with it.
No.
Okay. Why is it creepy though? You've stated
more
this
for women,
age
I think it's
dating this age, but why is it creepy?
Normally, when I feel like it's for women, it's normally they need to feel young, and so it's I just still think it's weird. You're date someone your age that's the same maturity level, especially as a woman. I don't know if you're a lot older and you're dating a guy that's a lot younger, they're probably very immature,
desperate,
and so it's just
desperate.
odd.
Well, who's that woman who's, it doesn't really matter. What about men dating younger? What's your diagnosis there?
I think it's kind of the same thing. You want to be younger, but I also think it's just a looks thing. I think guys are attracted a lot, I guess women, it could be the same way. I still think
Do you think men care a lot about physical attractiveness?
Yes.
Absolutely.
When do you think, so I know women have a different opinion on this, the male gaze, female gaze, but as it pertains to the male gaze, what do men find younger women more attractive?
Yes.
Yeah.
And do looks matter a lot to men? Gotta keep it
I would say
yes.
I would say someone with a healthy mentality.
I say
would
looks
be
lure them in.
attracted by
Looks definitely lure a guy
first,
in.
Yeah.
but then eventually, as the relationship progresses, again, if this man is mentally healthy, then looks matter only to an extent, because if you're beautiful but nasty on the inside,
It makes you rotten on the outside.
absolutely no difference. But I do think it's shallow of the man if he likes a woman that's beautiful despite of her being ugly. If he knows that she's a nasty woman inside but beautiful on the outside, I think that makes
but
a man that's
attraction has to come first. So
I do think that.
both men and women
Yeah.
are
That's
going
what
to
I'm
be attracted to each
Yeah,
other.
I mean,
Looks will only
sometimes.
take you so far.
I agree. So if you're really good looking, but you're a piece of shit, okay, cool. But if you're good looking and you're a good person, or you're average looking and you're a good person, or you're ugly and a good person, I'm pretty sure that guy who's good looking and he's a good person is going to outcompete the other men.
Yep.
Just like the woman who's a good person and attractive is going to probably outcompete the average looking or ugly woman who's also a good person.
Yes.
People care about looks.
Yeah.
So
That's how we're
we all agree with
wired.
that.
Yeah.
but she's trying to rebut my argument as it relates to age gaps. Yeah, you're presenting a counter.
What did I say? That was
Yeah, well, I don't. Then
combative.
why did you? It wasn't. Well, you're introducing. We're talking about age gaps. So are you just dittoing? You're just.
No,
I think what it is you asked me
I didn't say
if
anything.
I think it's because older men think that the younger girls are attractive. You asked us that, and then she was saying but she was also saying it. She was just saying it's also
Okay,
shallow.
but yeah, personality matters, but let's get back to the actual conversation.
Well, I think with
age gaps.
age gaps, I tend to date guys one of them I'm dating is 46, the other one's in his 50s. I'm 29. But when I was your age, I might think that's a little weird.
Yeah.
But now I just feel like that.
I'm so close to a child.
It's a little weird, kind of. But at the same time, it's it's what they
I
really
am a
like.
child.
You're an adult, technically.
Well, yeah, but okay.
Legally.
Then legally.
I still have an adolescent mind.
That's true.
Right, you can't even rent a
I
car
didn't
till you're
turn, I didn't turn
25.
18 and all of a sudden I'm I'm an adult. I'm gonna act like.
You are legally an
yes,
adult.
I am legally an adult.
But
That's
your
correct.
brain's not fully developed till you're 25.
Yeah, but your brain is closer
I'm still
to.
a teenager.
Hold on. Your brain is closer to that of an adult than it is to a 10-year-old.
Wait, I did not say. that my brain's
You
like a
said
10-year-old.
you said your brain is adolescent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's
What I
fine.
meant is that I'm still gonna act
I would
like a
say
teenager
it's more like
because I
naive,
am
maybe.
a teenager.
Maybe more juvenile.
Yeah,
Yeah.
juvenile. That's a good word. I don't know. I'm just saying that just because I turned 18 doesn't mean that all of a
Okay,
sudden
yeah,
I don't.
sure. You can still be
Doesn't mean you
immature
can
at
make-
Yeah,
18.
that's exactly what I'm
and
saying.
you can still be immature
At
at
30.
30
Yeah,
and
no,
40
that's true.
and 50.
That's just why I was saying it's probably a little bit more creepy because more people my age.
Wait, so if the ick factor, the creep factor is just dating somebody who's immature, what's creepier than a 35-year-old dating a 20-year-old?
that wasn't the
who's-
only
hold
creep
on.
factor.
Sure, but a 35-year-old who's dating a 20-year-old who's like remarkably mature and emotionally intelligent and all that
see anything
stuff,
wrong with that.
versus a 40-year-old who's super immature. What's creepier?
I don't think there's anything
I don't
creepy
think that-
between the age gap you just described.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure
Oh,
it's
well,
just
okay.
case by
She-
case.
well,
I think
she thinks it's creepy.
So
The
I
20
think it's case by case,
Really?
and I think in a broad way, like you were saying, in a blanket term, not an exception, it's creepier. But if it's okay, here's a single exception, they're really mature, maybe it's not as creepy in that exception. Like,
But what's actually creepy about
I think she's
men
saying
having
if
a
you're old
preference
enough
for
to be
younger
my
women?
dad. That's
yeah.
when-
So if it's a younger woman and she's like basically any other teenager, like still acting like a teenager, and he's 52 and he
Okay,
could have
how about
kids.
this? I'm 35. I'm 35.
Yeah, you didn't even let me finish.
Okay, finish. Go ahead.
Okay, so if he's 52 and he acts like an adult and he acts like a 52-year-old and he's going after someone that acts like a teenager and their lives are completely different, your priorities are different, that is creepy. This could be your daughter. That is creepy.
I agree.
I agree.
What is creepy about it? Are you saying that her age, or
No,
'cause
I'm
you're
saying
growing
I'm
in-
saying the
The emotional
mindsets, the
differences,
age,
yeah.
all of it.
Okay, so what is the minimum age gap that you would say is acceptable? Because look, it's really easy to like do these sort of arguments where we're just we're gonna pick like a 70-year-old dating like a girl who just turned 18.
Right.
I think it's much easier for you to forward your position on that. But like, give me the minimum. Like, is
Like a
30
age
and
gap.
20? Is that unacceptable?
No, I said earlier that probably wouldn't be as unacceptable because I feel
But it's still to some degree.
it's acceptable. That is
okay.
acceptable.
Sure.
There you go.
Wait. What if you, Mac? What if you're 18? You said you have like a, like the mind of a child right now, and
Mind of a
you
teenager, that's
wait
what I
10
meant.
years.
Yeah.
Well, let's say you wait 10 years,
Yeah.
and you're let's say you're 30 something, 35,
Okay.
and you just didn't develop that much. You're still sort of childish, and a 50-year-old wants to potentially make you the mother of his children, his wife. Is it still creepy if your development didn't actually go that far, maybe 2%? 3% in advance?
So I guess what I thought was creepy is that it's just someone that's barely legal. You know, they don't have a lot of experience in life. They're immature. It's not necessarily the immaturity. I mean, like, so say your daughter. Do you have any daughters?
Fine. Yes.
Okay, so
but
say
I
you have a
don't-
daughter. She's barely 18, right? And I guess say you're 52. Say you're the same age as the person she's dating. Is that you wouldn't think it would be creepy if she brought home your
a great
coworker, your
point.
friend?
No, not just on face value. No, like for instance,
You would
I'm-
be
So your
okay with your
18-year-old
18-year-old
daughter
daughter
just
dating
brought-
your
Let me
friend?
fucking answer. Shut up for a second.
Whoa.
So
Wow.
if
You better
if
calm
I-
down.
Shut up.
Wow.
You can't answer a question and bark.
Yeah,
like a
you guys,
chicken,
if you're gonna
okay?
ask him a
Like dog
question,
chicken.
if you're
But
gonna,
you were doing it to me like literally 5
yeah,
minutes
but I'm the
ago.
host, so I have
I'm a
like a bit more
man.
leeway. I have a bit more leeway to
Okay.
interrupt and stuff. But look, if you guys are gonna ask him a question, let him answer. Go ahead.
Let me call.
So, if the value, I'm going to judge the man by his values. So if the man is in the church, I would only look at that from a view not from creepy, but from logistics of fatherhood. That's the only way I would look at it. If they had the value, that would be really the deal breaker. If they shared my theology, if they were in my church. That would be a deal breaker. The only argument I would have, it wouldn't be a creepy argument, because that's really not an argument. That's just an argument from incredulity. That's just like saying icky, therefore wrong. That's not an argument. And so the only reason I would present to advocate away from it, if I did advocate away from it, would be practicality. That is to say, it's not that it's creepy. It might be the case that the 50-year-old man marrying the 18-year-old man may at some age not be able to fulfill his duties as a husband or a father in a shorter period of time. And so it's ideal that they're closer in age, but it's not because it's creepy. Does that make sense?
Okay, so you
Yeah.
would be okay with your daughter, 18 years old, right? She brings home a guy your age at the time. That's fine? and then you're just gonna pin it on.
I mean,
the
I
church?
That's the guy. I just told you. Are you? What do you have? What do you have?
No,
in
I
your
understand.
ears?
I understand
I
what you're.
just literally told you the whole entire hypothetical. Did you just not listen?
I understand your hypothetical.
it's
I guess,
very
yeah, I guess I
fascinating.
understand. I guess it would just have to be, I guess creepy's just based on your opinion. That's all it is. I mean, like,
So it's-
I'm not
yeah, it's
saying that,
arbitrary, yeah.
no, I'm not saying that just because I think something's creepy, it's wrong. It might be right in someone else's situation. I can just still think it's creepy.
Also,
Nobody. Well, I don't-
Also, Jim Bob, what do you think about this argument? So, for example, and it is an interesting argument. Like, well, what would you prefer or want for your own daughter? And it's like, I think a father could even say, well, yeah, I think I might even have like a slight preference towards a woman dating a man, within a couple years of her. Maybe he's like 3-4 years older.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily, even if you have that preference, that doesn't mean that you're precluded from being okay with her dating somebody a bit older. In the same way, for example, as this, you might say it would be your preference. Or it would be more ideal for your daughter to date somebody who's a billionaire, but you would also be okay with her dating a millionaire or even a guy who makes $100,000 a year or even $70,000 a year, whatever it is. So just because there could be a preference or leaning towards, yeah, I could see like, okay, if she finds a fantastic guy who's like a year older than her or the same age, that could be optimum in the sense of like, okay, like if there's a big age gap, here's one potential downfall. He could maybe like pass away a little sooner than would otherwise be ideal, but people can die at any point. But does that track for you
Yeah,
at
no,
all?
it makes sense. It makes sense. It's just that it's interesting. These hypotheticals always come down to like sort of like what you want to eat off a menu, essentially reduced preferences. And I'm pointing out to something larger, which is very important in all of these conversations, is that what is your worldview? And for my view, an Orthodox Christian perspective is the filter through which I'm determining my answers to all of these
you
things.
say
And so without the worldview, all you have is just what I think off the menu. And I'm saying that's not working anymore. That didn't work for women in feminism. That doesn't work for utilitarian progressives. That doesn't work for atheists. What I'm pointing to is that ultimately you need a paradigm and a worldview, and honestly, in modernity today, a lot of people are just without it. It's sad, but I'll play my own violin music on even. It's sad that people are judging their ethics from their own personal preferences, and that's ultimately all that's happening here.